Who is Fergus Fraser, really? From the moment he first appeared on screen, fans of Outlander have wondered if there was more to his story than we were told. He was just a boy in Paris, living by his wits, yet somehow fate placed him in the path of Jamie and Claire. Was this chance, or was there a hidden destiny written into his past? As Season 8 approaches, the mystery of Fergus's true origins may finally matter more than ever before. What we know is only part of the picture, and the rest is filled with shadows, secrets, and questions that have followed him from childhood to manhood. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain and take a closer look at Fergus Fraser's journey, his uncertain beginnings, and why his past may hold the key to his future. Fergus first entered the world of Outlander in the bustling streets of Paris. He was a child then, no more than a boy who survived by stealing from wealthy nobles and travelers. Quick with his hands and sharp with his mind, he had no family to guide him, no roots to give him safety, only the cold comfort of the streets. It was in those narrow alleyways that his fate changed forever. Claire and Jamie Fraser, who had come to Paris in search of influence and alliances, crossed paths with the pickpocket. At first glance, he might have seemed like just another child of the city, but something about him struck Jamie. He saw not just a thief, but a spark of potential. This boy could be more. From that moment on, Fergus's life transformed. He entered the Fraser household not as a servant, but as a part of their growing family. Jamie and Claire gave him food, shelter, and, more importantly, a sense of belonging. Slowly, Fergus stopped being only the boy from the streets and began becoming a Fraser in spirit. Through trials and losses, through moments of laughter and danger, he carved out his place beside them. The bond between Fergus and Jamie deepened into one of trust and loyalty, a connection stronger than blood. The years that followed showed just how much Fergus had grown. He stood by the Frasers in Scotland, faced danger in the colonies, and endured heartbreak in silence. One of his most defining moments came when he lost his hand, a brutal punishment that could have broken a weaker man. Yet Fergus carried his injury with quiet strength. Rather than let it define him, he chose to push forward, showing that his worth was never tied to what he had lost but to who he had become. Later, his marriage to Marsali brought him love and a new chapter in life. Together they built a family of their own, proving that Fergus's story was not only about survival, but also about resilience, commitment, and love. Despite his painful past and his struggles with doubt, he became a father determined to give his children what he never had: a safe and loving home. Through these moments, Fergus grew from a boy without a name to a man who carried the Fraser name with honor. Yet even with all this growth, one question has never been answered. Who was Fergus before he became a Fraser? Where did he come from? And why has his true parentage always remained a mystery? This gap in his story has lingered like an echo, whispering that there is more to Fergus than meets the eye. And as Season 8 approaches, that silence around his origins feels more important than ever. For all the years Fergus has been part of the Fraser family, there is one part of his life that has always remained locked away in silence: his origins. When we first meet him, he is already a boy alone, surviving as a pickpocket in the streets of Paris. We are told nothing about his parents, nothing about the family he might have lost, and nothing about how he ended up abandoned. In a story like Outlander, where bloodlines, heritage, and destiny carry so much weight, this absence feels deliberate. Fergus is one of the very few central characters whose past is an empty page. This mystery sets him apart. Jamie's story is deeply tied to the Fraser clan of Scotland. Claire's life is built on the strange secret of time travel. Diana carries the dual legacy of both her parents, bound to two different centuries. Even characters like Roger and young Ian have long and detailed family histories. But Fergus? His beginning is a shadow, and that absence makes him different from everyone else in the Fraser circle. It creates the haunting question: why has his backstory never been revealed? Some might say that Fergus's past does not matter, that his story is about the family he chooses rather than the family he comes from. And in many ways, this is true. His life with the Frasers has shown us that love and loyalty can be stronger than blood. Yet in Outlander, origins are never meaningless. They shape identities. They create conflicts, and they often tie characters to larger events. So when it comes to Fergus, the silence around his past feels almost too loud. It makes fans wonder if his hidden origins are meant to become important later, perhaps even in the final chapters of the story. The show itself never fully addresses this gap. We are left with the image of a boy who simply appeared in Paris one day, as if the city itself birthed him. But even Diana Gabaldon, the author of the Outlander novels, has left this space largely untouched. It is not just an oversight. It feels intentional, as though the truth of Fergus's beginnings has been set aside for a purpose. Was he abandoned for a reason? Was his birth family more than ordinary Parisians? Or is the mystery of his origin meant to highlight the power of chosen family, to show that sometimes where you come from matters less than where you choose to go? This gap in Fergus's story is what makes him one of the most fascinating figures in the Outlander universe. We know how he lives, how he loves, and how he suffers, but we do not know where he truly comes from. And that silence is powerful. It is a silence that fans have filled with questions, with speculation, and with theories. Because if Fergus has no known past, then the possibility exists that his true heritage could be extraordinary. As we look toward Season 8, this mystery has the potential to finally unfold. Outlander has reached a point where long-hidden secrets may come to light, and Fergus's origins could be one of them. Whether it is a revelation about noble blood, a lost family, or a symbolic truth about what it means to belong, the question of who Fergus really is cannot stay in the shadows forever. When it comes to Fergus, the books and the television series walk a very fine line. Both give us the same boy, a street thief in Paris who becomes part of the Fraser family. Both give us the same loyalty, the same hardships, and the same love story with Marsali. But there is one thing they share in silence. Neither the books nor the show fully answer the question of his birth. That silence is important, and it is what makes Fergus one of the most intriguing figures in Outlander. In Diana Gabaldon's novels, Fergus's origins are sketched with the same mysterious brushstrokes. We learn that he was raised in a brothel in Paris, that his earliest memories are of shadows, whispers, and the cruel survival of a child with no one to guide him. His mother is unknown, his father unnamed, and his story before meeting Jamie and Claire is almost deliberately erased. It is as though the author wanted readers to focus not on where Fergus came from, but on where he would go. Even so, this lack of detail has given birth to endless speculation. Readers often pause and wonder, why leave this gap so wide unless there is something hidden behind it? The television series makes a similar choice. Fergus is introduced in the second season, brought to life with a charm and warmth that made him instantly memorable. The showrunners had the chance to expand his backstory, to give viewers a glimpse of who his parents were or why he ended up in such a desperate situation. But they did not. Instead, they leaned into the same ambiguity the books created. By doing this, they left space for the mystery to linger, a gap that hangs over the character even as he grows into a husband and father. Yet there are subtle differences between page and screen. In the books, Fergus's story carries a quiet sadness, almost like a song with missing verses. In the show, his story is marked more by resilience, his strength shining through even without a past to anchor him. The contrast creates an interesting tension. On one hand, readers of the novels see him as a figure with a lost history, a man defined as much by what we don't know as by what we do. On the other, viewers of the series may focus more on the present Fergus, the man he has become, rather than the boy he once was. Still, Outlander has always been about weaving the past into the present. It is a story where ancestry matters, where bloodlines and secrets shape the fates of generations. Which raises the question, if Fergus's origins are never meant to matter, then why keep the mystery alive across both versions of the story? Why not give him a simple explanation? The answer may be that his backstory has not yet been told because it is meant to hold weight later, perhaps in the final season. What makes this even more fascinating is how both mediums, book and show, invite the audience to speculate. By refusing to reveal his heritage, they have created a space where theories grow, Fans are left to wonder if Fergus might secretly belong to a noble line, if his blood might tie him to French aristocracy, or if the truth of his beginnings will hold symbolic meaning that ties into Jamie and Claire's journey. In this way, the books and the show are not simply withholding information. They are planting a seed of mystery that blooms more fully as we approach the end of Outlander's story. Whenever a story leaves a door half open, fans step through it. Fergus's missing origins have inspired some of the most fascinating theories in the Outlander community. Some of these ideas stretch into legend. Others are grounded in history. But all of them share one thing: the belief that Fergus's past is not ordinary. One of the most popular theories imagines Fergus as a child of noble blood. The argument is simple. Paris in the 18th century was full of scandal, secrets, and whispered betrayals. It was not uncommon for wealthy families to hide the shame of illegitimate children by abandoning them to the streets. Could Fergus have been born into wealth, only to be cast aside because his very existence threatened a family's reputation? If so, his journey from abandoned boy to Fraser's son takes on a deeper meaning. It becomes not just a story of survival, but a story of stolen birthright. Another theory pulls us closer to the brothels of Paris, where Fergus is first discovered. Some fans believe his mother might have been one of the women who worked there, forced by poverty or circumstance, while his father was a man of influence who could never claim him. This idea paints Fergus not as a noble heir, but as a child born into the shadows of power, someone who carries within him the unspoken sins of society. In this version, his silence about his past is not because he does not know, but because the truth is too painful to share. Then there are theories that step even further into mystery. Some suggest Fergus could be tied to figures we already know, hidden relatives who connect him more closely to the larger web of Outlander's story. What if Fergus's bloodline links him to characters in ways we have not yet seen? What if his life has been entwined with destiny since the very beginning, long before he crossed paths with Jamie and Claire? These theories may be wild, but in a story where time bends and fate repeats itself, nothing feels impossible. There is also the symbolic theory. In this view, Fergus's unknown origins are not meant to be revealed at all. Instead, they serve as a statement that a man is not defined by where he comes from, but by the choices he makes and the family he builds. This interpretation sees Fergus as the ultimate example of chosen family, proof that love and loyalty are stronger than bloodlines. If this is the truth, then the unanswered question of his birth is not a weakness in the story. It is the very point of his character. These competing theories reveal why Fergus continues to fascinate fans. He is both a mystery and a mirror, reflecting the hopes, fears, and imagination of the audience. Whether he was born a noble, a child of the brothel, or a symbol of chosen family, Fergus stands as one of the most compelling puzzles in Outlander. And as the story nears its end, the pressure grows. Because the longer the truth remains hidden, the greater its impact will be when it is finally revealed, or when we learn that the silence was the answer all along. As Outlander prepares to enter its 8th season, every character is being drawn toward their final arc. Fergus Fraser may not be at the center of the time-traveling whirlwind, but his story is far from finished. In fact, the mystery of his past and the weight of his present could collide in ways that reshape not only his life, but the legacy of the Fraser family itself. Season 8 arrives at a turning point in history. The American Revolution is rising, loyalties are shifting, and every family must decide where they stand. For Fergus, this is not just a backdrop of war, it is a test of identity. He has always carried doubts about his worth, especially as a man who grew up without a name, without a hand, and often without confidence. Now, in the chaos of a world being rebuilt, Fergus must ask himself a question that has haunted him since childhood. Who am I really? This inner struggle could push him into unexpected storylines. Some fans believe Season 8 will finally explore his hidden parentage, tying his fate to larger political or social forces. Imagine the dramatic reveal if Fergus were linked to a French noble family whose influence still reaches across the Atlantic. Suddenly, the abandoned boy of Paris would become a man with roots stretching into the very heart of history. His story would no longer be only about survival, but about reclaiming an identity denied to him. At the same time, Fergus's present life offers its own challenges. His marriage to Marsali has always been a foundation of love and resilience. But raising children during war is a battle of its own. Protecting his family could become Fergus's greatest test. Will his doubts make him falter? Or will he rise to prove that the Fraser name he carries is more powerful than any bloodline he may have lost? Season 8 could place him in situations where his courage, not his heritage, decides the fate of those he loves. There is also the possibility that Fergus's story will serve as a mirror to Jaime's. Jaime has always wrestled with the weight of his ancestry, his duty to the Fraser name, and his responsibility as a leader. Fergus, in contrast, has no heritage to fall back on, no clan calling his name. Yet both men share the same loyalty, the same courage, and the same devotion to family. Season 8 may highlight this contrast, showing that Fergus's strength comes not from a bloodline, but from the life he chose to build with the Frasers. And then there is the emotional weight. Outlander has never shied away from heartbreak. If Fergus's origins are revealed, the truth could be painful. It might bring closure, or it might open wounds that can never fully heal. Whatever the case, Season 8 feels like the moment when Fergus's silent past and his uncertain future finally collide. In the end, Fergus's role may not be about leading armies or changing history with grand gestures. Instead, his arc may remind us that even in a world of time travel, battles, and destiny, the most powerful story is sometimes the quiet one. The story of a man who began with nothing, but through loyalty, love, and resilience, built a legacy that will outlast the secrets of his birth. At the heart of Outlander, every journey is more than just time travel, more than battles and politics. It is about belonging, who we are, where we come from, and the ways in which love shapes destiny. Fergus Fraser's story embodies this theme more than almost anyone else in the saga. His life is the proof that family can be built, not only inherited. Yet the silence around his past makes his journey even more powerful, because it forces us to ask, does blood define a man, or do his choices? Think about Fergus's place among the Frasers. He is not born of their line, yet Jaime calls him son. Claire calls him family, and the Fraser name has become his shield. Through them, he has known love, loyalty, and identity. Still, underneath his strength lies a man who has always wrestled with doubt. We see it in his quiet glances, in the moments where his confidence falters, in the struggles that almost broke him. That doubt has never been about his loyalty. It has been about his worth. The mystery of his origins hangs like a shadow he cannot escape, whispering that perhaps he was abandoned because he was not enough. This is why Fergus's story carries such emotional weight. It is not only about his role in battles or his place in history. It is about the universal fear of being unwanted and the universal hope of finding where we truly belong. His bond with Jaime is a father-son relationship built not on blood, but on choice. His love for Marsali is a marriage built not on fortune, but on devotion. His children are raised with the very security he never had. In these choices, Fergus proves himself again and again, not to us, but to himself. And yet, Outlander thrives on secrets. The unanswered question of Fergus's birth may still matter, because stories in this world rarely leave loose ends without reason. If Season 8 does reveal his past, it could bring him the closure he has long deserved. A name, a history, a truth he has been denied since childhood. But if the writers choose to keep that door closed, then that choice itself speaks volumes. It would mean that Fergus's life is the ultimate statement, that who you become matters more than who you were. Either way, Fergus stands as a symbol of resilience. He reminds us that survival is not the same as living, and that love can give us the strength to rise beyond the limits of our beginnings. For some fans, the unanswered questions are frustrating. For others, they make Fergus the most human of all Outlander's characters. Because who among us does not wonder about the mysteries of our own lives, the paths not explained, the shadows we never fully understand? Fergus Fraser is not only a character in a sweeping historical drama, he is the embodiment of hope. That no matter where you start, no matter what you lose, And no matter how deep the shadows of your past may run, you can still create a life of meaning, courage, and love. And that, perhaps, is the greatest truth Outlander has to offer. Perhaps the greatest mystery in Outlander has never been the stones at Craig na Dun, or the shifting tides of time, but the quiet figure of a boy who became a man, a thief who became a Fraser, a shadow who became family. Fergus's life is proof that destiny does not always begin with noble birth or famous bloodlines. Sometimes it begins in silence, in absence, in the places where no one expects greatness to grow. And yet, out of that silence, Fergus carved a story that has moved fans for decades. As we stand on the edge of Season 8, the question of his true origins still lingers. Will the final chapter reveal the truth, giving Fergus the past he has always been denied, or will it hold to the mystery, showing us that the power of his story has always been in what he built, not what he inherited?